Alright, welcome to the...
Dude, you smashed it as the first thing you did was go like this.
Okay.
You had one job to do.
You had one job! Alright, welcome to the Bucket Journal podcast. I'm here with Charles Kemp.
Hello.
Duncan McIntyre.
I just want to say Bukkake.
And Phil Peters.
Yeah.
Some of this is going to be usable.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
So we're going to be making one of these every week. And hopefully you at home enjoy them. We know we will.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Pete.
Good idea. So first, like to start to talk off. Like to start off talking about the 70th anniversary IPA dinner last week, which camp you went to. Sort of contractual obligation for you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, for those who don't know what the IPA is, it stands for the Institute of Public Affairs, and is a economic and social think tank that revolves around socially liberal and economic liberalism. And the special guests were Tony Abbott, Andrew Bolt, and Rupert Murdoch. Yeah.
So diverse then.
Yes. Well, the main attraction was
The Liberal A team.
Yeah, the Liberal A team.
Yeah.
If somebody let off a bomb, you'd pretty much
Yeah.
destroy the country.
Yeah.
And it's, chance of
Oh,
prosperity.
but Andrew Bolt's an impartial journalist.
Oh,
Surely
well,
he's
that's
not on any
true.
particular team.
Yeah, no, but it was really good evening. And I was actually particularly impressed with Rupert Murdoch because, like most people I think who went, obviously he's quite a
Divisive.
character, and certainly from my sort of political views, sort of one person controlling a massive amount of media is sort of a scary thing.
Well, it's communism.
Well, exactly. But no, I was very impressed with what he had to say. He was mainly talking particularly on the point of free markets as well as keeping media regulation down to as little as possible.
And there's no ulterior motive to that point.
No, but like it was, I felt it was actually a really reasonable speech, and he was very eloquent in what he had to say. So.
He doesn't really promote free market though. Like
No,
in what he does.
Yeah, not
Like,
in what he does, but certainly that night it was probably one of the best speeches I've heard in favour of.
So it's a bit sort of do as I say, not as I do.
Oh.
It was more
No.
everyone else do this because I got it covered.
No, I wouldn't say so.
But he actively promotes monopolies in a hugely lucrative market.
Yeah, but I guess that's a part of the free market. Like, obviously monopolies occur, but he's not asking for any sort of protection of his...
Yeah,
But he is because he's asking for less media regulation.
But I guess.
But that's not protection.
Oh,
No,
it's protection from government.
Oh, no, well, that's not under the definition of,
I know. Yeah,
protection from an economic point of view.
it's not protectionism, but it's protection from what would be his natural economic predator.
Oh, but that's the free market. The free market doesn't have government regulation.
I'm sorry if I hate freedom.
Yeah, no, but
it's one of those things where you logically there is that regulations are needed so that a free market can occur because without the the regulatory system that even that we have now, even though it's arguably pretty broken with Murdoch controlling a lot of it. I mean that the way he got there was through a free market, I guess, but to maintain a competitive space, you need competitors.
Yeah, I completely understand that point, and I agree with you. But the fact is that monopolies rarely last. More if you compare the monopolies about 50 years ago to the monopolies now,
It's true.
It's completely different.
And especially if you're looking at it
go.
now, because now that print is kind of on its way out. And
It'll be interesting to see what happens when he either steps down or is pushed aside. Whether the people under him will look at breaking up the empire or what will happen with that. I think that'll be an interesting period.
Yeah, quite easily. But it was a good night, and Tony spoke as well.
Yeah,
Tones. There was I thought the way he spoke was so much better than the way he speaks to the public.
Well, that's because a lot of the stuff he's obviously very intelligent, and this is the problem I have with Tony. But he's obviously this very intelligent man who like is a very good speech maker. But when he's put in a position that he's not comfortable, whether it's like in an interview situation where he can't prepare the exact answer that he wants to give, then he seems a bit like aloof, or like there are problems with his with the way that he speaks to people.
I think that's right, but I think that's politics in general. If you're feeling a bit nervous,
but don't you see that as a problem for a potential? I guess it's true of all politicians, but I think I see it particularly in Abbott.
I think the way he handles it doesn't look good in the way his actual speech. Like, it's not eloquent in the way he speaks. It tends to be a bit ums and ahs, and
although that's
a lot of like holding or like presenting an invisible shoebox to the audience.
Yeah.
That's my joke.
But it's mine now. Like, it's not a huge problem in the grand scheme of things.
And it's hardly like he's facing stiff competition at the moment.
Exactly.
So it's hardly like the Australian Parliament is full of the great orators of our time.
Exactly. But it was interesting because the IPA hates it when they're called like a conservative group. They're sort of extremely sort of liberal, and a lot of the time they're actually arguing against government policy. And it was interesting to see Tony focus a lot on the liberal concept rather than the conservative concept, because there's no doubt that Tony considers himself a conservative, and he doesn't like associating himself with being sort of a liberal, but especially that night
it is a bit sad that in Australian politics you have liberal conservatives or conservative liberals for the most part. That's the kind of way you describe them.
Yeah, and I think that's a trend that's been going on.
It was like it's almost like they're liberal in a time where like liberality, I guess, like you want to use that term. Decades ago when that was the idea seen as liberal, and now the conservative people who kind of came up with that idealism are now still in power and like want to go back to that.
Well, that's how the IPA started up, was that it was a think tank that made economic policy or constructed policy for the Menzies government, which was in a time when the Liberal Party was extremely progressive in their views. In a time when government interference within the economy, especially within Australia, was at an all-time high, especially after World War II, and that was a consistent theme throughout most Western governments. But I think we'll see the Liberal Party slowly become more and more liberal, within the next couple of decades.
You'd say there's only one way they can move at the moment. They're controlled by the New South Wales hard right, which is, perhaps excluding Queensland, is about as conservative as Australian politics gets.
And especially with people like, folks in our area, people like Josh Frydenberg and Kelly O'Dwyer are certainly from that liberal side of politics, who will definitely be, this is, sort of purely a guess, but will be, sort of the big dogs with
next gen.
Yeah. And with Malcolm Turnbull always sort of
omnipresent.
I think that's the only way the party can go. Sure. And if it does go that way, we could see a massive change in the support group, or the support base of the party.
Absolutely.
So I don't want to, as an American expat, we were talking about Murdoch before. I guess the Fox News phenomenon has not really like reached. It's reached Australia in that you can watch it on Foxtel, whatever, and we're aware of it. But how did it affect everyday kind of like TV viewing or just general kind of news consumption, that the Murdoch kind of movement in the US? Dunk.
I don't watch TV. So I can't really answer your question. All I can say is that this Christmas I was down at my grandparents' house, and they're quite a bit right-wing, and Fox News is on pretty much 24/7.
I don't think it's like that different to the like Australian media landscape. If you want hardline conservative news, in Australia. With the advent of the internet, you can get it. It might not be quite as commercialized as it is in America.
I think the widespread nature of it is the difference.
But the American public is also a lot more conservative than the Australian public. I think it's like, it's a bit chicken and egg. People tend to say, oh, Fox News is brainwashing the American public. Of course they're conservative because look at this huge media organization that's just spoon feeding them this stuff. But then, Fox News would not exist if it didn't have a huge audience. Fox News has the biggest audience of any cable network in America. It kills the ratings in every time slot. And so, it's two sides. It's not just them changing the political environment. There's a political environment there, and they exploit it by providing content.
And to associate Murdoch with Fox News is sort of like, I don't like, even though sort of obviously he's the owner, Murdoch himself actually isn't that conservative. Like, he backed Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, and he is pro gun control.
So he's like, in the sense that like he has this master control over all the media organisations that he owns. Is an obvious fear which people should be afraid of, but I don't think.
Having said that, he is on record a lot saying that his role as the owner of different media organisations is, at least in part, to contribute to editorial policy.
Oh, like, I'm sure that's the case.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that's not done in a sneaky way in which it's sort of comes across.
I don't doubt that it's not a totalitarian regime or anything, but the precedent is set by the top.
Oh yeah, but I mean there are like lots of newspapers that Murdoch owns that have altering opinions.
Yeah, I mean you got to remember that he owns the Wall Street Journal, and he's currently engaged in a bid to buy the LA Times. So they're quite a sort of down the line. Middle of the road, certainly not a conservative paper. Mm-hmm. But we should move on onto world affairs, and obviously the big fish to fry in that department this week is North Korea. Will they? Won't they? Thoughts, gentlemen?
I'm excited.
Yeah, yeah. You keen to get your nuclear war on?
I think we're due, Pete. No, I have no idea what North Korea is going to do. Obviously, if they are to attack, they're going to sort of obviously hit US bases within South Korea, particularly Guam. But nobody, I think, really knows yet what they're capable of.
I think that's the scary thing. More than Iraq or any other like state actor that we've had in the last little while. They're really unpredictable, so I think that's a scary thing. And particularly, like they've got nuclear weapons. Like regardless of how far people think they can launch them, that's a big deal.
I'm pretty sure Kim Jong-un can throw them to California.
That's true. Yeah.
I saw this cartoon actually the other day on some crappy website of Kim Jong-un in a little like wooden rowboat with a nuke in it, just paddling it away from North Korea. And that'd probably get under missile detection radar.
Yeah.
You'd have to sacrifice himself.
Yeah. If you got 15 months to spare, then that's probably the way to do it.
Loves his country.
Can you imagine that if just news like coverage of North Korea just suddenly dropped off for 15 months?
Yeah.
While Kim Jong-un is paddling across the Pacific Ocean with a nuclear warhead.
With a nuke and a huge can of ham. just eaten away.
Just thousands of cans of Spam.
Yeah.
I mean, most of this week I've been thinking about
donuts.
But now I'm thinking about North Korea.
I've been thinking about donuts.
Good, Dan.
Sorry, Phil.
Yeah, I was just thinking that in many ways, Team America as a movie was ahead of its time. Because it really, it foresaw the escalation.
It did.
That's true. Well, yes and no.
I don't know about the
regardless, I'm keeping my eye on Alec Baldwin.
That film actor's killed.
Yeah, it's true.
That's
Somebody,
that's an
somebody
Onion
should be-
article waiting to happen. Like Baldwin calls
yeah, absolutely.
meeting in North Korea.
Yeah, I think it's because everyone's saying that new North Korean leaders normally test like to prove themselves by creating a conflict, and they also like to test new South Korean leaders. So we've got a combination of those two situations happening at the same time at the moment, which obviously creates a really volatile environment.
And it seems like a lot of the stories are saying that the North Korean generals are basically testing, basically asking little Kim, how hard are you?
Yeah, and I think there's got to be a lot of pressure on him to show that he's a big boy.
Yeah, it's not just daddy's little
and granddaddy's.
I mean, it's tough in North Korea.
It's a complete
I mean, here, you got have a couple of beers, maybe get yourself a car. And in North Korea, you got to incite nuclear war. That's sort of a whole different ball game.
That's a good call. I actually feel sorry for Kim Jong Un. Like, he has to deal, with
the enormous pressure.
Expectations are high.
The enormous pressure of starving millions of people into to death while trying to fund a sort of dysfunctional nuclear program.
And that's the thing, though, that like the world that North Korea is a completely different beast to any other country.
Yeah,
like the way the government's run, the way the military.
It's easy to draw parallels to the USSR, but compared to that, the agriculture of Soviet Russia was utopian.
Not even that. You hear the stories of the propaganda, like the wild propaganda that's coming out from North Korea, and it's almost as if they have put up enormous walls, and then there's basically no contact with the outside world. And there's this great TED talk by a North Korean woman who escaped in the second half of the 20th century. Escaped, and she talked about how she had to get out, and just saying how as a child you're kind of taught to hate the US and to hate the West and stuff, and that basically everything is great and all hail Kim Jong-il or Kim Jong-un now, I guess, but really there were people starving on the streets, and seeing public executions and stuff was a weekly or monthly occurrence. And you think of try and put yourself in that position, and it's completely foreign.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see because obviously it's like a matter of time before North Korea just collapses.
Yeah.
What we will find when we actually go in there.
Yeah.
In regards to one thing that it hasn't been confirmed, but sort of basically the prison camps that they have, any crimes that the government commits against its own citizens.
I mean, any kind of totalitarian system like that, you're always going to get something people will inevitably
sort of sunshine of flowers.
People will inevitably think differently from you, and therefore, if you're going to run a government like that, you've got to start locking people up at some stage. But to your point, Phil, Jon Stewart was making the great point the other night that if what Kim Jong Un is trying to do is prove his heroism to his people, why doesn't he just tell them that he's conquered America?
He did
because they don't have internet. They don't have any external media access, so he could tell them whatever he wanted, and they would have no choice but to believe it.
Again, reports coming out of North Korea are because of the internet, because of the whole situation, a bit sketchy to say at best. But there was this news story about how there was the North Korean news service had put out a kind of an announcement saying that the North Korean army had taken the US to war and had taken 170,000 US prisoners of war. It's just ridiculous, lies. And when you're in a totalitarian government where people are starving, you have to kind of give them a reason to fear the government, and that's pretty scary.
But the interesting thing was, I was reading a report the other day that said that as sort of volatile as North Korea is, they're not, they're a secular government. They're not, they are fanatics, but not, they're not religious fanatics. They're not sort of completely without sort of rational.
The North Korean government.
Yeah.
Are you saying that religious governments are completely irrational?
Well, no. This article was comparing it to, like imagine if we were in this kind of situation with Iran, who you would tend to think would be, more unpredictable, and it'd be more difficult to sort of think through.
I think nothing
thought process.
Well, just
because of the nature of the government.
Well, I disagree with that in that, like, the North is where we actually don't know anything about North Korea. There's very little information on how it runs.
Here's my question: Does Kim Jong-un have internet access?
I think he must. Oh, I mean, you say that, but
or is it just hardwired? He runs a couple of cables over to China.
Hey, he's got a Big Pond 3G dongle that he sits on the side of his laptop.
Have you seen that?
He's got an AOL disc.
Yeah.
Have you seen that Tumblr blog of Kim Jong-un looking at That is amazing.
Have you seen the spin-off one, Tony Abbott looking at things?
No.
And there's also Tony Abbott pointing at things.
And then there was Romney looking at people lovingly. That's my favourite.
Yeah, no, those ones are fantastic. We want to move on to Phil, we were telling us the Pope has apparently come out with a message of support for victims of church sexual abuse.
Yeah, and obviously the new Pope is more socially he's not soft and friendly.
You hesitate to use the word progressive when you're talking about a Pope.
That's true. When you're talking about the Catholic Church, it's very difficult to use a word like progressive. But I guess it is in a way. It is in a way, at least really? In what they're saying.
I thought, but you went to a Presbyterian school.
Yeah, but
and you didn't catch on fire when you walked in the building.
Well, there's only apparently 21 registered Presbyterians at school like that.
Really?
Yeah.
In the whole school?
Yeah. Anyways, Phil, what were you saying?
Yeah. So the new Pope is a bit soft and warmer than the other ones before him, and the last Pope, Benedict number whatever
16
probably he's come out and supported the victims, but not necessarily said anything about
I don't think anyone's suggesting that this is going to lead to any kind of affirmative action from the Vatican about any sort of definite action from the Vatican in terms of actually confronting sexual abuse.
Well, I mean, but that's basically what the news story said, and it came out this morning I'm reading an article from The Guardian that the Pope met with a high up German bishop and exchanged words, and that basically he said that it's time for the I'll read. The Pope Francis has directed the Vatican to act decisively on sex abuse cases and take measures against pedophile priests, saying that the credibility was on the line.
That's kind of easy to say. And I mean, what's the alternative to that? That
the alternative is to say nothing.
That the Vatican should actively aid and abet.
No, I think
the
alternative is to say nothing, is to ignore the problem, which has been the problem with the Catholic Church.
I think it has kind of become too big to ignore, though.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you're arguing whether the child abuse, the rape and abuse of thousands of children, has become too big to ignore.
Yeah, it's been too big for a very long time. I mean, you look at when was the big Irish inquiry into churches?
That was 2000.
That was almost a decade ago now. Sure.
2006.
I would have thought earlier than that. But these kind of huge, disastrous. I mean, in terms of the church, horrible inquiries have been going on for decades now.
Can we just pause to acknowledge the fact that The Guardian has uploaded a video of an interview with Snoop Lion under the headlines "Snoop Lion meets Simon Hattenstone. The U.S. rap star talks feminism, pimpin', and George Michael."
Good old Snoop Lion.
Only Snoop Lion could fit feminism and pimpin' into the same interview.
Oh man. Yeah. So I think
you sort of believe that when you see it. You know?
Yeah, exactly. And the survivors network of those are used by priests, which the anagram is SNAP, which I just want to give props to a little bit.
Snaps for snap.
There you go. It's basically said, once again, a top Catholic official said he's asking another top Catholic official to talk to other top Catholic officials about it's like, we've heard this record before. When we can actually see something in motion, then we'll be happy, or at least, take it with a little bit of...
Absolutely.
And it's good that they're finally dealing with it, because it's absurd how big of an issue it actually is. It's insane. It's
systematic.
And I know. Sorry. And especially though, so if you're looking at sort of Catholic parishes in Australia, the majority of them really don't have an issue.
But there was, the Q&A on Monday, last Monday night, was the religious spiritual special, and they had the Catholic, his name escapes me, but he basically was on, and this question was asked, and he said that that's something that obviously everybody is sympathetic and something needs to be done about it, but he said that he had to him personally had to see to kind of issues like this 30 years ago. And I think and the problem that came up is not that, this is a bad thing, we should stop them doing it, which is obvious, which is
self-evident.
It's self-evident. But what the problem is that the Catholic Church has been kind of suppressing it and not treating it as a social issue as opposed to a criminal issue, which is what it is.
And I think the best way to fix this would be for the Pope to simply say, you can get married.
Well, you can. A lot of the priests, but this
is
the thing.
A lot of people are saying that that just let them have sex in a conventional legal way.
But this is the thing. A lot
of
them are.
Not to say that it's okay to rape children if you're not allowed to have sex.
But I love it's almost become to the point where it's just it's Catholicism causing it. There's this underlying sort of sense within it that's actually causing these people to have sex with children.
I think the argument there is not that it's Catholicism, that it's the structure that puts these puts these people.
That's the issue with this, that people associating it with Catholicism, whereas when it comes down to it, it's just the fact that they can't get married.
Well, they can get married, but there are a lot of married priests that do it as well.
No,
that's
the
problem.
No, that's the thing though, is that it gets...
but members of the Catholic Church, right? Maybe you're not talking about priests specifically, but there are members of the Catholic Church who are involved in Catholic organisations who are married who are sex abusers.
No, but that doesn't mean that it's the Catholic Church.
But the problem with the Catholic Church is I'm not saying the problem with the Catholic Church. I'm saying the problem with an organisation, any organisation like the Catholic Church, where you're put in contact with small children or underprivileged children, and you're given they're given trust. Basically, they're put in a position where trust is involved and power is involved.
But I don't know if that's the Catholic Church's problem.
But it's not. I'm not saying it's not the Catholic Church's problem. It's all organisations like that. Jerry Sandusky was the football coach at Penn State.
It's about power relationships.
Yeah, and but when you put in a position
you need to be
like
really
that,
careful.
You need to be really careful. Yeah. And there's been a negligence by the Catholic Church in that case.
But I think at the very core of it, you can say, it's about because they can't get married. It's because there's a system in place which protects priests and whatever. But at the very basis of it is personal choice. No matter
personal choice and opportunity.
Well, sure. But given the opportunity to rape a child, not everyone will take that chance.
No.
At the very core of the issue is the fact that these people chose to abuse children, and you can't. I think if you start talking about the culture that protected them and all this kind of thing, you almost stray into
you excuse that.
Yeah, you almost stray into excusing their actions, which were theirs to make.
True, and the long form criticism of the Catholic Church in this case is not because of that. It's because they're systematically there is evidence of the systematic overlooking, I guess, or moving stuff like moving priests who they know were abusing children
protecting people.
Yeah, but not even protecting the priests. They're just moving them to another state or to another.
That's true.
area where it's not happening.
Anyway,
pretty,
we should move along.
Yeah.
We move on to sport. Let's start with AFL. Regrettably, I don't know. A good and bad week for different clubs. Obviously, a fantastic week for Melbourne, who, I mean, if they go much deeper, they're probably going to find oil. So that'll at
least get them out of debt.
That'll solve their money problems. That's obviously just a woeful performance.
I think I was listening. I was listening to a talkback. I think I was listening to a talkback caller in that worked out that if they kept losing at the rate they were losing, by the end of the year they'd lose by 35,000 points or something.
Yeah.
So who do they play in round 22?
Well,
that's what I want to know, because that percentage boost could come in handy.
That's true. I mean, you got to work out how many goals a second you'd have to kick to win by 38,000 points. I mean, we're Phil and I and Camp, we're all Carlton fans, and I mean, everyone who's a Carlton fan remembers the dark days after the salary cap debacle. But it never got this bad.
Never got. I mean, and in 2 years they've been beaten by 180 points and 150 points. And that didn't that didn't even happen to teams who had. There's no bunch of 18-year-olds.
There's no noticeable improvement. I think that's the thing that's got to kill you. It's you drag yourself through last year as a Melbourne fan, and you finally get to this year. New recruits, new coach for the second time in 2 years. But let's not rub that in. And all this new excitement, and then to just have this happen in the first 2 rounds. I mean, that's just got to.
What do you reckon's the basis of it? Coaching.
It's talent. They don't have the right talent there.
But I don't think that's true. I mean, if you look at the list, it's no worse than some of the weaker teams in the competition.
Oh, I think that even you look at someone like the Bulldogs, who are seen as a kind of like cellar dwelling club this year at least. I mean, they've got guys like Matthew Boyd, who was in Brownlow contention a couple of years ago. Adam Cooney, who won a Brownlow.
Yeah.
They've got guys that could easily in any given year make the All Australian team. Who's won apart from Mark Jamer? Who's one Melbourne player who you would even have as your third or fourth best player?
But I mean, apart from the established names at the Suns, although I guess that's the difference between Melbourne and the Suns is the Suns have those well established names that carry them through. But no, look, I think it's going to be a tough year. And someone on the ABC was saying this morning that to sack the coach would obviously be the wrong move at this stage. I think you have to stick with the coach and just say
there's no point. But this is the thing: there's no point in sacking the coach.
Yeah, it just adds more instability.
Yeah,
and you have to start all the way again
in a club that sacked its coach, lost its president, had him die.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that was
true.
So,
but you basically I say this not saying that they tried to have their president die, but they've tried everything.
Yeah,
they haven't tried everything.
What haven't they tried?
Oh, I'm just spitballing here, but maybe it's time to move on to less conventional.
I mean, maybe Melbourne has to
your
start
team.
thinking about whether if they want to continue to focus on AFL or perhaps move to a different form of sport, like jelly wrestling.
Well, I mean, I don't know the point system in jelly wrestling, but maybe they wouldn't be able to lose by 150 points in jelly wrestling. Maybe that's the confidence boost they need.
I'm more under the impression that no one really loses in jelly wrestling.
That's right. I think everyone's a winner in jelly wrestling,
especially the jelly.
Yeah.
Back to Melbourne though. It's pretty. I mean, it is a pretty sad state of affairs, and they do have. I guess the choice, and they're only 2 rounds in as well, so they may still show improvement.
Oh yeah, no. This looks like it's going to turn around round 3. I'm tipping them next week, for sure.
And I'm sure there'll be a couple of games where they can get up, but it is not looking good. And I guess moving forward from now, it's not like they're going to be thinking finals or anything. So I guess what I'm saying is they need to start thinking about whether it's time to look at
like they did a couple of years ago.
Yeah, look at moving their good pieces in an attempt to get draft picks from other clubs down the line.
I think
because I mean, and this is the problem that they've had is that they've actually managed to be really bad in a time where being really bad hasn't been rewarded.
I think they've just got to stick to the basics. You know,
good old kick and catch football.
Oh, just you got to play the percentages. You got to play the kids.
Get your structures. Keep to your structures.
Oh, I think that's what went wrong last week. They didn't keep to their structures.
It really grinds my gears and rustles my jimmies when they don't play to the percentages. I mean, it's in front of them. Look at it.
I mean, a very wise man once said, there are 4 situations in football. You have it, they have it, it's in dispute, or the inside 50s is where you're getting smashed. And I think that 4th situation is what's facing Melbourne most weeks. I think they really need to have a look at that and work out
that on the scoreboard.
Well, yeah.
So moving on from AFL.
Well, yeah, I mean, what more is there to talk about in AFL? I mean, Melbourne is the only team, so...
Moving on to the international jelly wrestling.
We come to you live.
It was a big upset last week.
Actually using raspberry jelly this week. How do you think this will affect the competitors, Charles?
Yeah. TV.
Can we sponsor like an event?
Do we talk TV?
Just in Federation Square.
Jelly wrestling.
You're gonna have a bunch of kiddie pools.
Oh, you know who we should get?
International.
Robert Doyle. Jelly wrestling. Or 2 people jelly wrestling in Robert Doyle's belly. just have him lie on his back and just spread it all out.
Are we going to be providing the jelly?
No. Just use Robert Doyle's belly as jelly.
I'm just thinking of wrestlers' names in the jelly wrestling. So you've got like Jelly Johnny, and Raspberry Ronnie. I don't know.
Those are terrible jokes.
This is the thing. You gotta go WWE style themes, right? So you got the Jelly Roger, the pirate theme.
Yeah.
Jelly Roger.
The Jelly Roger.
That's good.
Is that the only one you had?
That's all I got.
Okay.
I figured someone else might be able to figure out.
Somebody's gonna have cherry pie as their entry.
Yes.
I was going with Cherry Poppin' Daddy. But
Isn't cherry pie a song about incest?
No.
Really? What's it about?
It's about a hot chick.
But I thought there was something about the guy singing it being a dad or something.
No.
I think I've been listening to it wrong.
I think you've been listening to the different
you see what you want to see. You hear what you want to hear.
Be what you want to be.
Yeah. Let's talk TV. We're going to try and talk about Game of Thrones and The Walking Dead without giving away spoilers, which is going to be difficult.
Yeah.
Obviously, The Walking Dead finished last week, and Game of Thrones came
Dead.
back the Christopher Walking Dead.
Yeah.
I get that right this time. No, Charles Walken.
Christopher's lesser known.
That will make no sense to anyone but us.
No.
Christopher Walker's less known younger brother, Charles.
Great to be here, Pete.
Good on you, Charles.
So The Walking Dead wrapped up its third season.
Yeah. Things happened.
Yeah.
In season 3.
As they do.
Things happened.
Some people were killed and others
some people were
survived.
Not. Yes.
True.
Some people were eaten by zombies.
Others turned into zombies themselves.
Yes. Some people...
There was love and there was loss and...
There was fear and joy.
And jelly wrestling.
Only
in the Christmas special.
Yeah. The Christmas special that was released and then later revoked by the producer. Never be spoken of again.
I think what Pete's trying to say is it was the best of times.
It was the bluest.
It was the worst of times.
Yeah. And Camp wants to talk about Mad Men, but you're only watching the first season.
I'm now onto the second season.
Well, I think you can still spoil as much as you want. I mean, anyone who hasn't watched the second season by now probably has it coming.
Hey.
All right, let's put a spoiler warning on this for season 2 of Mad Men.
I'm only 3 episodes in.
And we'll give you a minute. A minute from now.
Yeah, I've just been really impressed by the suits that they wear in the show and just the general lifestyle.
Have you seen Silk? There's a show called Silk, which is about suit makers.
Oh, really?
So maybe that'd be right up
your alley. Maybe you should get after that.
Yeah. But I've just been amazed by the sexism in it, as well as the smoking and the level of drinking that goes on in the workplace.
Yeah. I mean, those were really good old times.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting. But it's a good. Ellie, do any of you watch it?
I've watched
You can
parts.
spoil as much
I think
as you want.
it's
There's 7 seasons in or something.
It's,
So
it's a really slow moving show.
It's an interesting piece of social commentary, though.
Yeah,
and sort of like
definitely.
historical, narrative. That's sort of an interesting aspect of it, I think.
Yeah, and I've really only watched the pilot episode when it first came out.
Right.
And there was a lot of hype about. I remember there was a lot of hype about it when it first came out, and
Yeah.
like I watched the first episode, and like if it is a slow burn, then fair enough. But it was interesting, but it's not something overly dramatic that I feel like I need to tune in every single week. I think it's something that you can dip in and out of if you.
The thing that I found hard about it was that it's hard to get around Don Draper, who's the main character in it.
Yeah.
Because even though he comes across as a sort of a good lad, and he's obviously in his characters from the Korean War, blah blah blah, all that, like he's just stereotypical, sort of middle class American male.
Yeah.
But sort of throughout it, sort of he's been cheating on his wife. Sort of.
That's just not what you're about.
And that's the main character though, and usually the main character is someone that you're meant to like.
Well, no, but I
look
think
up to and love,
the-
and
well,
yet
I
they
think
still sell him as that.
everyman.
I think the main character doesn't necessarily need to be someone that you. I mean, like look at the show Dexter is about
That's true.
a
It's better.
serial killer.
Yeah.
And the reason I like wasn't particularly into the show a couple of seasons in because I didn't find it.
It's because I don't like serial killers.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it wasn't like there wasn't enough of that push and pull.
I think you do need to sort of have a certain degree of concern about people who are really hardcore fans of Dexter, because it is kind of in a certain way it is a how-to manual. I mean, I think maybe the FBI has a watch list of people who repeatedly watch episodes of Dexter.
Yeah, and about Breaking Bad.
That's yeah. Although you notice they never actually talk.
Talk chemical.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I'd like to think.
Well, they do, but in a kind of way that you could get just as bad much information from the nightly news when they.
Well, I'd like to think that much like CSI and the groundbreaking forensic kind of shows a decade or so ago, there was this push to in the forensic sciences in secondary education and tertiary education. I'd like to think that Breaking Bad has
It's really pushed kids towards cooking meth.
absolutely interest in chemistry and movement towards
Cooking meth.
Cooking meth.
Yeah,
Because they can see how lucrative it is.
Oh, I think I think it's only a matter of time before universities start cottoning onto that and offering some kind of tertiary option for people who are interested.
Or at least a
cooking
TAFE
meth.
option.
For a living. It's pretty vocational.
Yeah.
So probably TAFE is the place to go.
Yeah,
But I think there's certainly demand for it.
certainly.
Is our spoiler warning still applying?
No,
at
well,
this point?
There can be.
Well, is it a minute?
Dude, it's like two and a half, nearly 3 minutes.
Okay, so no more spoiler
Dumbledore
warning.
dies, Bella chooses Edward, Frodo and Sam were gay. Moving on.
And yeah,
I don't think you have any evidence that Frodo and Sam were gay. I just think they were close platonic friends.
YOLO Swaggins.
Swagrid.
oh, someone should make a novelty Twitter account where they just recount Frodo and Sam over the journey. Just got in.
It's the stream of
Picked up
consciousness.
by an eagle. #, you only live once.
It's just the stream of consciousness, and it's like entered the mind of Moria today. Frodo's ass looked great. Save Frodo again. He's really getting on my nerves now. He doesn't consider my feelings at all.
Yeah. So gay hobbits. That's how we end this week.
Great band.
And most weeks, I hope.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that's probably the benchmark we've set this week.
The only way.
Pick it up next week where we left it off. Good night from myself, Kemp,
Great to be here.
McIntyre,
You bloody drungo.
and Peters.
Yeah.
And tune in this time next week for more.
Same bat time.
Yeah. Don't move that dial for a whole week. Don't do it.
Just